surgery. They suddenly get very quiet. No intentional surgery scar should look like that. So I want to talk about the physical scars that we are left with. Sometimes in life, the things that we go to, it leaves an indelible mark. Like the surgeries I had. I've had 11 orthopedic surgeries, and I've got surgery scars all up the sides, in front of my leg, and then the last one's here over the top of my knee from the total knee replacement. That is a scar that you can physically see. Mm-hmm. And when I talk about those surgery scars being blackety black, they were blacker than black. So much so that I was embarrassed and ashamed. And sometimes we have a mark, or it could be from anything, from a surgery, from an accident, where we feel insignificant, where we are embarrassed by the physical mark that has been left on it. It's an indelible mark. You cannot deny what happened. It is a reminder of something that we don't want to think about. So you have that physical scar there. But I like to talk to people about what that scar really is. That scar is the evidence of the thing that you actually made it through. Mm-hmm. It is evidence that you survived the thing that should have killed you. Where I used to be embarrassed by these, wouldn't wear a skirt. So I was 10 years old, and I didn't wear another pair of shorts till probably I was 18, except for in PE, and that was because they made me. But wouldn't wear shorts. I only wore long skirts down to here. Now I still like long skirts, but now I like short ones too. But wouldn't wear anything because I was embarrassed by the mark. Jesus. I didn't want people to know what I had been through. And I spent so many years trying to cover that up that it was actually adding to my pain and my grief, but I didn't realize it because of the embarrassment I had around this physical scar. But I also want to talk about the fact that when we have surgery, you know, and your body's natural response to a surgery is it's going to heal. But when we get the physical manifestation, which is the outward scar, in your body on the inside is forming scar tissue. Mm-hmm. It's the healing portion. It's what your body is supposed to do, so that you can heal and you can get your mobility back, because in order for this to look like this, everything on the inside has to heal. That's the muscle, the nerve, the bone, whatever type of surgery it was, and in your case, a hysterectomy.
Exactly.
But when scar tissue forms, if too much of it forms, it causes more pain.
Yes.
So when we're going through our life, sometimes we may have a physical manifestation, but sometimes we've gone through something in our life, a death, a divorce, some kind of disappointment, and we made it through that experience because our body formed scar tissue around it. But now that scar tissue has become so tight and so constricted that it's keeping us from functioning today.
Yeah.
Now think about it in regards to you went through a divorce that was so painful. So it was heartbreaking to you, but you managed to pull yourself together. Well, now you've got scar tissue. But you won't have a relationship with another man, or they're so dysfunctional, but that's because it's the scar tissue on the inside that is now keeping you from functioning properly. Yes. And we don't realize it, that it's the scar tissue. The very thing that helped us heal that initial injury, that initial wound, whether it was physical or emotional, has now stopped us. And sometimes we got to go back in, like when you have a surgery, sometimes like when you have total knee replacement, if the knee gets to the point where you can't move it and it's constricted, they actually have to go back in and cut the scar tissue out so that it can re-heal, and now you can get your proper functioning back. Well, we've got to do that with the emotional things too. We've got to go back in and we've got to cut that scar tissue out, and sometimes we've got to cut it from around our heart so that we can function again. So that we can operate in relationships and be able to love each other. Because how many of us in the room have had something that was so heartbreaking and so disappointing, whether it was from a mother, a father, a child, a spouse, where we just encased our heart.
Living in bondage.
Living in bondage. We encased our heart in scar tissue. And then you look up, you're 40, you're 50, you're 60 years old. And that scar tissue has become thick and impliable. And oftentimes when I meet people and they're talking and they're like, well, that's just me. That's just how I do things. That's scar tissue.
Exactly.
Ooh.
And it can be tender at times.
That hit, didn't it?
Yeah,
Somebody say something, you be like, ouch.
Yeah.
It still kind of hurt a little bit right there.
It does. It does.
Sore.
And that's how you know that's scar tissue that needs to be broken up.
Exactly.
And that needs to be looked at and needs to be examined. It's like, so sometimes we have scars. Sometimes it's a physical scar, but sometimes it's a scar tissue on the inside that's preventing you from being the person that God designed you to be. It's like, because if we're walking around scarred, we can't live in the joy and the abundance that He has designed for us. We can't love each other the way that He wants us to love each other. It's like, because if you got that much anger, unforgiveness, bitterness, this is something that I talk about in the book, and ladies, you can read it. Say, angry young women become bitter old women.
Yes.
That's scar tissue. So, since you did the scar tissue, so that the feeling we had earlier, I was like, I feel like we in church and I need to run real quick. Like I would run right there if I had these legs. So I'm sorry. Don't make me spit all